What did the president know and when did he know it? Heck, what did Bob Woodward know and when did he know it? I'm Scott Ott, and this episode of Bill Whittle Now is brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. Bill, there's been a lot of caterwauling in the media the last couple of days as Bob Woodward's new book, Rage, about the President of the United States, is about to be released. And the initial questions had to do with whether President Trump held back information that he knew about the COVID-19 coronavirus, that it was more deadly than he let on in his public statements. Trump has defended his what he calls cheerleading for the United States as not wanting to arouse panic. And I don't really want to go back and forth on that issue. I can see how both sides could look at it and see it the way they want to see it. The real question to me is why Donald Trump sat down with the enemy, so to speak. He did multiple recorded interviews during this time of crisis in this country with Bob Woodward. Bill, do you think it's possible that Donald Trump had neither seen a previous Bob Woodward book or heard of one?
Just going out on a limb here, but maybe it's possible that Donald Trump didn't think he had anything to hide, didn't think he'd done anything wrong, was proud of his response, and didn't see any harm in it.
Well, he's calling it a hit job now, Bill, and the hit job consists of Bob Woodward reporting what he has on tape that Donald Trump said.
I'd be willing to bet you a significant amount of money that what Bob Woodward reported is a selection of what Donald Trump said on tape.
That may be, and I do not have the full transcripts. But again, the question must arise. Every book, and Karl Rove said this, by the way, Karl Rove, advisor to George W. Bush and longtime political expert, so to speak, has said that any president who sits down with Bob Woodward and thinks that the book is not going to be a hit job really needs to understand how this thing works.
Well, I suppose you could say, well, that's just Donald Trump being just a stupid idiot or blindingly naive. And there's a fair amount of evidence to conclude that he's neither one of those things. So I'm going to stick to my original guess here and assume that he felt like he was doing the right thing, had done the right thing, and didn't have anything to be to either be ashamed about or worried about. Now, the bigger question, of course, is to think about Karl Rove's advice, which is excellent. And of all the people I've seen in American politics, certainly on the Republican side, Donald Trump by a mile is the only one who understands just how venal and nasty the American press is. It's not hostile. The job of the press is to be tough on the president. And you could even argue that the job of the press is to be hostile to the president, as long as they're hostile to whoever happens to be the president, and not only hostile to one party while covering the other.
Well, President Trump said that, in fact, Woodward had been hostile to, he didn't use the term hostile, but it had been hostile to his predecessor, Barack Obama, as well. So you've got a point there.
Yeah, sure. He really ripped Obama up.
I'm just saying what the President of the United States said, Donald Trump.
Well, the president was being gracious there. There's two ways. There's really, I guess, just two things to say about this. Number one, in my opinion, it goes a long way to Donald Trump's character, just in terms of confidence. You know, if you think that Bob Woodward is going to be a threat to you, and you're just come out and say it, and you're afraid of being interviewed by Bob Woodward because you know that he writes these extremely critical pieces, that means you're kind of walking around in fear, and I don't get the impression that that's something that Donald Trump much does. Now, on the other hand, I suspect that given the reaction, you said he did a number of interviews, and now he says it's a hit piece. That tells me that the book that came out is not representative of what Donald Trump said to him, and this would certainly not be the first time this happened. The press is not just hostile, Republicans. They're not just tough. They're not just hostile. They are active agents in the pursuit of a political agenda. And this is why, if I was a politician, I would never, ever go on camera or be recorded in any way whatsoever unless I had my own video camera there recording me at the same time, so that I could have some evidence if this kind of chicanery raised its ugly and completely anticipated head.
Now, Bill, it's possible that it's not that the president was stupid, as you suggested, his critics might say, or that he was even naive, but rather that he's a narcissist and he thinks he can sell anything to anybody. And so he kind of, wades into this situation with this undeserved confidence in his own ability to persuade people and then winds up getting ambushed again.
Well, I don't, if you're going to end up becoming president of the United States of America, I'd be willing to say that there's not a whole lot of undeserved confidence in a person like that, no matter who they are. If you manage to become president of the United States of America, not only did that require a great deal of confidence to get into it in the first place, let's just say it's something that would go on your resume. So Donald Trump is a narcissist, and so is every other politician, big or small. You have to be, to some degree, and I guess in a large degree, you have to be convinced of the rightness of what you're doing, or else there's no reason to get into this fight. When you look at why people go into politics, the vast majority of them, in fact, I can think of a handful of exceptions rather, one of them prominent, with the almost overwhelming majority of people that go into politics do it in order to gain power, and through political power, they can also make themselves rich. Barack Obama was paid $400,000 a year, and God knows what his net worth is now, but it's tens of millions of dollars. Hillary Clinton was worth $300 million on a civil servant's salary. So it's not just power; it's also money. The only people that you can have at least a degree of trust in are people who don't need the money or the power. That's the thing about Donald Trump that I think so many of his supporters admire. It's one of the things I admire. He took a pay cut to do the job, and it wasn't like he was sitting in a room someplace wishing he had some influence. So, yes, certainly he's a narcissist, no question, and so is Bob Woodward. Now the question is it a malignant narcissism? Is it a narcissism that does not have any concern for the well-being of anyone other than yourself?
And let me ask the final question on that, because what you just said is the key thing. That's the main plot of this in the media, is that Donald Trump knew more about the coronavirus than he was letting on in public, that in fact he knew it was deadly, he knew it was airborne, he knew it was very dangerous, but in public he made it sound like it was a seasonal flu kind of thing. I'm not going to deal with that, but the subplot of the stories now, and mostly on social media, is that Bob Woodward knew that the president knew back in March sometime, and that neither Woodward nor Trump fully informed the American public. What do you think is the obligation of a journalist who has a platform on the Washington Post to release information that may be of value to the public before his book comes out months later?
That is a pretty good question, isn't it, Scott? I mean, if you follow the argument to its logical conclusion, ace reporter Bob Woodward finds not only explosive information about a wiretap that may have happened a year ago, but in the course of his interviews discovers that there is an enormous threat to the country that the president is aware of and is simply just ignoring out of his own particular vices. And therefore, since millions of people are about to die, I'm going to sit on this until I can get a book out on it, and then I'll make a lot of money. So the job of the reporter is to inform the public. The job of the president is to maintain order and to lead the United States of America. Let's not forget, you said not to get into the details, but there's no way to get around this. Let's not forget that Donald Trump shut down travel to China a month before any of this stuff happened. He was called a racist and vilified by it, by people like Bob Woodward. And so when you hear these kind of things, you realize that it is a no-win situation for the president. He's vilified for shutting down China early as a racist and a xenophobe, And then when things go on, you find out that the people who didn't have to make the decision, who criticized him for the decision, then say he didn't make the right decision and he didn't make it early enough. And let's not forget either that no matter what allegations Bob Woodward may want to level against Donald Trump for his supposed mishandling of the COVID-19 crisis, let's not forget that Donald Trump and the rest of the world were operating under predictions of 2.2 million American deaths. We're now approaching 200,000 American deaths. That's a tenth of what Donald Trump was facing when he heard the news. And furthermore, if you look at the latest statistics from the CDC, you find that of the 200,000 round numbers, people who died, you find that 96% of them, not 9% of them, 96% of the people who died of COVID-19 had comorbidities, other factors that contributed to their demise, 2.6 per person. And furthermore, on top of that, of the 4% of the total population, it's about 9,000 people that died of COVID-19 and only COVID-19, you find out that 80% of those people were elderly. So no matter what Bob Woodward wants to say, and no matter how much he wants to pimp his book, he can make whatever accusations he wants to make. The fact of the matter is, if you take a look at where the deaths in the United States occurred, and you take New York and New Jersey out of the picture, then the United States response has been, without question, the most successful one in the world. And the only reason the numbers are as high as they are is because Democrats like the governor of New York and New Jersey and the mayor of New York City, who called Trump a racist, denied that it was a threat, told people to go to Chinatown or whatever the case may be long after Donald Trump had warned against this. If you take the actions of those Democrats out of the numbers of people who died, you get a death rate that's probably half of what we've got. So if Bob Woodward wants to have this argument, I'm more than ready to have it with him. And again, it's just another hit piece. It's another distortion of reality. And I hope that Donald Trump becomes wiser for it, because there are, well, with the exception of people who he knows, maybe a couple of people at Fox or One American News or something, there are no journalists out there who'll give him a break, Scott, but there's no one out there who will give him a fair shake, as the term used to be. And that is a catastrophe for the Republic. But it is something that's the world we live in, and that's the world we have to deal with. And I'll close by saying, I don't think Bob Woodward's book is going to make the slightest dent in Donald Trump's reelection chances. And I don't particularly think it's going to sell very well either.
Well, doubtless more information is going to be trickled out by the publishers in their PR operation from Woodward's new book, Rage. And if things rise to the level that requires a Bill Whittle commentary on it, we will bring it to you on this show, as well as on Right Angle with Stephen Green, our other program. We invite you to join this enterprise and become a member so that you can be part of the team that actually produces these shows and has their own content generation machine at BillWhittle.com. We've placed a very obvious big green button on the BillWhittle.com homepage so that you may not make any mistake as to where to click to join. Please do so now. For Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks for watching.